Welcome back to another eyeshadow palette roulette declutter episode, and this week features the NARS Climax palette, the Viseart San Francisco palette, and the Lorac Glam palette. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started with the Lorac Glam palette here. And this one was a favorite of mine for quite some time. As you guys can see there's some major dips going on. I used this for 2 or 3 months straight at one point in time and really just love the color story. Love the neutrals, I love the shimmers, I love the mattes. It's a beautiful formula. I do like the Lorac formula. But that formula has changed. So I used a sequin here and I used a cinema and a look. It was a very easy look. I wasn't really feeling anything like big. I was gardening that day, so I didn't want to play with a lot of makeup. But sequin here actually gives that wet, beautiful look across the lid. However, the formula has changed. That is so dried out. It took forever for me to get that built up, and it's not as creamy as the other shades in here. So if I took Hollywood, you can see how this one here is definitely more creamy and this one here is more piecey and glittery. Unfortunately, that glitter also fell down my face. So this is going to be decluttered because, as I've told you before, I do not deal with the glitter fallout. I do not like looking like I'm in Twilight when I'm outside gardening. So this one is going to get decluttered. Next up, we have the Viseart San Francisco palette. And when I showed it to you guys last week, I did not tell you, I did have the Paris and the London Viseart palettes as well. However, I think when I decluttered those, I took some of the shades that I liked from those two palettes and put it in here. So if you have the Viseart San Francisco and it doesn't look the same, that would be why. If the shades are switched out, they are from those other two palettes. But this one right here is a very cute travel palette. I don't travel that much. We do travel for longer trips, so I do tend to take bigger palettes if I am going to travel, or I take an eyeshadow stick, to be honest. But I did do a look with these 3 shades here, and while the look was very pretty, it was a look that I could most definitely get from my Tarte Rainforest Temptations palette that I love. So this one here, while it's pretty, while it's travel friendly, it's not something that I am interested in anymore, so this one's going to get decluttered as well. Next, we have the NARS Climax palette, and when I say this palette shocked me this week, I'm sure you guys are tired of me saying that, but this one actually really did shock me. It is the palette that I have on my eyes today, and I'm wearing this shade here, this greenish shade here, and this lining my eyes with this shade over here in the crease. So this shade here was the first one that shocked me because it looks very light, but if you guys can see, it is actually a really good mid-tone matte for me, and I really enjoyed using that shade. So that was the first surprise. The second surprise are these shimmers. Now, like I said, I have this shade here and this shade here on my eyes today. Look at that shine. My dog just threw her bone on the ground. Look at that shine. Those are like my Root Cosmetics really like indie shadow shine without the glitter fallout. It is beautiful. I used this blue down here in the corner one day as well, and I used that and that one on top of each other. Beautiful, stunning, loved that one. This shade right here up in the corner, we'll put that up here. Look at that. Like that palette right there, that color story, I could be happy with just that. However, I did use this shade right here to line my eyes today. And I have to say, for a cool tone palette, because of this shade right here, it does push it a little bit so I could wear it warm tone, and I kind of like that. But I loved every shade. I did not use this shade here, but I loved every shade in this palette, and this might be one that I pull back out for the summertime because it is so versatile. It is so versatile. I think one day I just used the mattes here and I used the shimmer on the lid, and that was it. And it was just a gorgeous, easy look. I can add the darker shimmers for a different change. The blue here, if I pair this blue with the lighter one here, it does give it more of a cool tone look, but if I put it with the peachy shade there, it does give it a little bit of more of a warm tone, smoky look. It's a very versatile palette. And this is one that I had kind of forgotten about because it's cool tone, and I'm like, oh, that's a winter color story. It can pull a little bit warm, and I do appreciate that. So this one is definitely going to be a keep for me. I did my best to wipe off those swatches. Now my hand just looks very glittery. Anyway, so this week I decided I'm gonna go for the colorful ones. These are the ones that I will say are the most colorful in my collection, as I said last week, I can't even call my makeup a collection anymore. I don't have that much makeup anymore. So these three are going to be my colorful palettes. I have the Pat McGrath, this is the Lunar Nightshade here. And I love this for these shades right here. They are absolutely beautiful. They make a really great eye look. However, that right there and that right there are very similar to the one in the NARS palette that I just kept. So we'll have to see how that works, but it's beautiful. Out of all the Pat McGrath palettes that I have, this is probably the one that I've used the most and I enjoy the most. So I'm very intrigued to see where this ranks next week. It's getting harder and harder to wipe off swatches, just saying. The next palette in this week's roundup is going to be the BH Avocado Toast. This is the green palette. Now, I did get rid of another palette because this did have the shades in it and that palette that I would use. I really do like green eyeshadow, but I don't tend to wear it very often. So we'll have to see where this one ends up. I do like this palette. I do think the shimmers in here are standout quality. So we'll see this week where that one ends up. And last but not least, my Beauty Bay Botanical. And this is just beautiful. I love the shimmers in this. They're absolutely stunning. You guys, like, I'm really going for this color story. Considering those are the three that I chose to swatch out of this whole palette, I am really, really just liking the blues and pinks, obviously, which is really weird for me. Let me do, which one should I do? Let's do fall. There we go. We'll get one that is not blue and pink, but it's a beautiful color story. I love Beauty Bay shimmers. Now the mattes in here are a little bit more colorful, and for me, I do not intend to use colorful matte shades. If I do, I'm using them more as a liner. The mattes are definitely a little bit colorful leaning for me, who usually puts a neutral in the crease, and then if I'm going to do a color on the eye, I will take a colorful shimmer and put it on the lid to bring in that color. I won't necessarily reach for a green matte shade to bring in color, but we will see where this one ends up. I do love the Beauty Bay formula. This does give me a lot of options compared to the other ones, so we shall see. But oh, those shimmers, I keep looking at them. I really just want to put those on my eye. I just do. But that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next week for the next episode of my eyeshadow palette roulette declutter. Bye guys.